Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. And it just so happens to be the 52nd week in a row that I am doing the show. I think it's been 52 weeks in a row. I hope it has. Otherwise, this is a really false alarm with this first year anniversary thing that we're doing right here. So it's been a full year, and it has been a crazy year nonetheless. I have answered all kinds of questions on this weekly show, and I'm sure I'm going to have all kinds to answer this week, because I'm going to do my best to do one question from everyone who asked. And I know that it's 1 year. You could argue maybe I should answer them all, except for the first question has 5 questions built into it already. So I'm just going to pick one in the same format I have been, and we'll get started with the show right away. Now, there was one question I actually got on Twitter in a video format. However, that question, it actually ties in with another topic I want to make an entire video about, something for the actual 1 year. So consider this part 1 of Mondays with Mrhappy, and that video, Sam, since I know you're probably watching this, expecting to see your video at some point, that'll be featured in part 2 because it's actually a topic I wanted to talk about as a whole, as some way of celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the show. So anyway, let's get into the questions, and that way I can get to my raid night, and then I can get to recording part 2. So let's get started. I'm going to be doing it in a similar format to the way I have been the last couple of weeks. I've had such restricted time that this is probably the best way for me to do it, where I just don't edit, and I kind of just let it be like if I have to hiccup or breathe, like that, I just leave it in, because it's easier to get it out in time without having to risk it being at like 6 p.m. tomorrow based on how much time I have available tomorrow with the recording I need to do. So, first question, happy 1 year anniversary, Happy. Thank you. Thanks again for the response last week. So I might have sort of went ahead and binged the entire playlist over the last couple of days. You watched all 51 of the other, well, I guess you were watching 51 and then asked the question for 52, but damn, yo. Props to watching that. How the heck can you even do that? I guess the older episodes were a little bit shorter. So hopefully I can avoid asking common or repeat questions. Going to repost some of the unanswered ones from last week in the same format as a couple of new ones. First and last, I think, are the most interesting if you don't have a lot of time. So we got Astro Healing, Duty Finder, and Party Balance, Evolution of the World, which is probably one I would really like to get to, but I may not have time, and Final Fantasy IX style Chocobo Treasure, and Crafting Endgame Gear Stats. I am probably the worst person to ask about crafting and endgame gear, so I'm going to pick that one. I've heard you talk quite often about both additional stats to gear, such as boost to abilities and such, and also about crafted gear being relevant, but not more powerful than dungeon gear. What are your thoughts on the idea of crafters, rather than crafting competing gear, they use dungeon drops to augment gear? So basically, you would acquire the best gear from the end game dungeons along with crafting materials, but crafters would be needed to augment your gear into its premium state, bring it with new stats, which could in turn give players some choice over how the gear is augmented according to their needs. Makes the gear sort of horizontal, but also vertical. Diagonal. That's how Final Fantasy XI was. It was like mostly horizontal with a little bit of a diagonal every expansion. I mean, that just goes back to why can't we meld materia onto raid tier gear? I mean, that would be step number 1 before even getting to where you're talking about, because then this next step could be having more interesting, or having hyper rare materia that only fits into raid gear as opposed to augment. That would keep the crafting and gathering a little bit more relative in a sense, because crafting raid relevant gear, unless you're gonna have drops from the raid itself actually contribute to making that raid gear, I don't know how I feel about people being able to buy I-210 stuff. At least I-200 stuff, like, I would be okay with that if the drops came from Alexander Savage of some sorts. I don't know. And it would also just add a new element into the thing. It'll probably give a little bit more use to all these blue and red script things that are going on. That's a whole nother topic to talk about, red scripts and the state of crafting and gathering because of the state of red scripts. I would like crafting to have a bit more of a feature in terms of augmenting gear, as you've said, and I feel like the first step is to allow materia to be put into raid tier gear. We'll see if they ever decide to go down that route. Obviously not in the immediate future, but in the just eventually. Come on, we need more options here with this end game gear, not just these 2 sets that we can choose between and we just have to max accuracy and then just max like critical hit rate or something. We need more interesting stats in gear, and I think that crafting will probably play a part in that eventually. Next question. Hello, good sir. First time asking a question here, so have some SO bonus. Yay. I would like to know your opinion on the Dark Knight job, as well as your opinion on the Dark Aura that the Dark Side has, since it's nothing like the one they showed in the job action trailer. Keep up the good work, and congrats on the 1 year. Thank you. Dark Knight has a lot of conflicting abilities and aspects, like having an ability that increases their dodge rate, and while they have an ability that relies on them being hit, having abilities that are only useful as a main tank when you can parry, which kind of forces you into one role if you want to be at your most effective, minus the fact that it then creates a giant weakness in your job when your tank swapped and that ability is not available. Other than that, mitigation is fine. The damage is great, although the TP consumption is a bit of an issue. The job is perfectly capable of doing all the content, but that doesn't mean there aren't ways that it could be improved to at least be a more enjoyable play experience, specifically with the TP and specifically with the synergy they have between certain abilities. I feel like they could just use a little bit more synergy. As for the aura, that thing annoys the hell out of me as is, with its like little, like, just barely glowing. Even when I have all my effects off, I can't stand that effect persists through me having my effects turned off. If it was the other one, it would be even more annoying, but at least it would look cooler than it does now. It barely looks like anything. Maybe sometime in the future we'll get the aura back. I know there was something about it on the official forums. I just don't remember exactly what was said. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, couple of quick Savage questions. Ooh, interesting. Is having 2 support in the same group, a Bard and a Machinist, could you make any progress in Savage? I mean, you could do A1 and A2 with that. I just wouldn't want to bring that into A3 unless both of them are bringing max deeps, like crazy, insane deeps. I mean, like, eventually with weapons and more gear, that'll be fine. It's just that looking at the gear we have now, I would never want to bring... Like, optimal is always 2 melee, 1 ranged support, and 1 ranged caster. And by ranged support, obviously, I'm referring... Just because you called them a support, I'm just reiterating that's what Bard and Machinist are by the definition you've given me. And that's for the 4 DPS that you bring. Now, not that other compositions can't work. They totally can, especially for A1 and A2, which with the gear we have now can easily be beaten with almost any standard 2 tank, 2 healer, 4 DPS. In fact, they can be beaten by any standard 2 tank, 2 healer, 4 DPS layout. And A2 Savage, with summoners and scholars being so king, again, same deal. 4 summoners would probably destroy A2 Savage. But on the same note, if we're looking at a serious group looking towards progression, I would never want that duplicate, the job stacking. I would just never want that. And the second question is, oh wow, I know I said I was only going to do 1 question, but that one was pretty quick. I am leveling a tank to go into Savage since 2 support doesn't sound likely. Okay. I was wondering, do you want Vit accessories or Strength accessories? Get to about 16 to 17,000 health, which will usually be made up of 3 right side crafted accessories, mixing, well, I guess 3 slaying, 2 fending is the standard. 3 right side slaying, 2 right side fending. Some tanks go with the crafted I-150 accessories, but I don't know exactly how that balance is since I'm not a tank and I haven't stared at their gear very much. But that sounds like a good amount. 16 to 17k and then full strength, wherever you can afford it. Next question. Hello there, Mr. Happy. Congratulations on the 1st anniversary. Yay! Appreciated among my buddies on Mateus. Keep up the good job. Will do. I have a little question about something I noticed about Dragoon's storyline in the main storyline of Heavensward. A main Dragoon since forever, and if you remember the final cutscene of the Dragoon storyline, you get an image of Haldrath to free Estinian from Nidhogg's influence, and in that cutscene, Haldrath wears a Draken armor's original colors. But when you see that flashback of Haldrath in Heavensward, he's wearing a white Draken armor. So do you think that the design of Haldrath came up when developing the Heavensward concept, or maybe this is the purpose to enhance the idea of idealizing images of heroes in the past, like Primals, as revealed by Hraesvelgr and Tiamat? I think that they just wanted to make him look different. I remember that cutscene, the last one of the Dragoon storyline. I don't remember it actually showing the gear he had, just sort of showing his outline and then him doing the like mini Dragonfire dive, or what's barely a mini Dragonfire dive. But I think they just wanted him to stand out a little bit more. I mean, Estinian is kind of... I guess they didn't just want another character that looked exactly like Estinian in the cutscene, because that would just be even more confusing to people, so they made Haldrath white. Besides, his armor looks way cooler that way. Looks like he just did the augmented questline and then dyed it white. But anyway, I was okay with it, and I think it's just a design thing. I don't think it's a story thing necessarily as to why they gave him pure white armor. Next question. Happy anniversary of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Longtime watcher, but first time asker. So get that SO bonus. Yeah. Now for the question. I started playing a month ago and grinded my way to 60 in 2 classes in less than a week. Wow. You going crazy. Because of a series of circumstances, I found myself the main tank of one of the best statics on the server and closed both A1 and 2 Savage quickly. Since then, though, the static has been going to hell for a multitude of reasons since it's been days since our last Alex try. Top it off, in the free time I got my Dragoon, Monk, and Ninja to 60, found myself enjoying DPS more than your Dark Knight. I'm thinking about changing static, but the problem is that there are very, and I mean very few hardcore and even mid-core statics on my server. Chances of finding one as good as mine are very limited. I basically have 2 choices: stay here and keep being a tank, or try to find another static, not knowing if I'll ever find one. I've been thinking about this a lot and would really appreciate the help. Again, happy first anniversary. So it's a tough decision. I did it the wrong way back when I left my static on Sargatanas. I just left my static and said, whatever, I'll start looking for a static eventually. I'll just immediately go put my name out there in as many places as possible. I got lucky. As far as I'm concerned, I got lucky. My ear popped suddenly for some reason. Before you saw me do that, it's because my ear popped. I don't know why. Probably just because I'm talking so much. That's a tough decision. I mean, if you're not going to be raiding at all, is it really worth staying? I guess that's the ultimate thing. If you're not going to be raiding at all, what's the point in staying and being a tank when you could at least try to get a static as a DPS? Being a DPS it's kind of hard to find groups. Most people look for tanks and healers. I'd put yourself out there as both, and whichever one gets selected, that's the one you just play. I know you probably want to play DPS more, but it sounds like you are more concerned directly with progressing in Savage itself. Ultimately, I can't decide for you. It's something you have to decide. Do you want to just put yourself out there as a DPS only, or do you want to leave that tank on the table and be like, okay, well, I mean, I already did 1 and 2 like this. I could just as well do 3. I would just much prefer to play a DPS. That's probably your best bet, and if I had to guess, you're probably going to end up being a tank. But that's all I can really tell you, man. I just can't decide for you. It's hard for me to tell somebody else how to play their game and how to run their own schedule and everything like that. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, repost from week 51. Why does Square Enix favor White Mage over Scholar Astro gear-wise? Main Scholar since the start of the game, gear for Scholar has always been scarce, forcing me to spend a lot of money on crafted gear. While White Mage can get away with pretty much anything, Scholar needs a specific set of stats on gear to come by very rarely. Even though T13 Scholar considered gear was pretty meh stat-wise for a Scholar, Law gear was meh apart from a few pieces with the same Alex. Lackluster apart from a few pieces. New SO gear is even worse stat-wise than those two. When I saw the SO book, I cried inside. What's the point of having class-specific gear if you end up not using it anyway due to poorly optimized stats? Well, it's because they want you to always have a choice between 2 sets. And also, Scholar heavily benefits from crafted gear, not because they need more crit, not because their gear isn't itemized well, but because they need accuracy, because a lot of the time Scholars are full-time DPSing while White Mages are solo healing fights. It's very common, especially in Savage. So for Scholar, I don't know, my Scholar gear, I had like an insane amount of crit with my Scholar set back in A Realm Reborn, and I think that's the biggest problem. Scholars look at their gear and they go, well, I don't care about piety, I don't care about determination, I don't care about this, I care about crit and accuracy. Those are the only 2 things any Scholar gives 2 shits about. So if a piece doesn't have crit, they automatically look at it and go, eh. But that's, I mean, you have to understand, they can't just give you crit on every single piece, or it would be ridiculous how strong you would be. Would it be awesome? Sure, but they can't do that, because if they do, you're just gonna, well, you know another one's going to die because the shields are going to be like 9,000 to like 11,000 points, and you're going to deployment them, and it's going to be OP. That's all it really comes down to. I feel you on the weapon though, but that's what the Alexander A4 weapon is for. I assume a lot of Scholars are going to skip that, but most Scholars are either going just for the body or some accessories, or some are getting the I-180 crafted body, pentamelding it with accuracy. I think I said accessory instead of accuracy before. I did that in a few videos ago too. And then they're just trying to get all the crit they can elsewhere. That's just all it comes down to. They just can't only give you crit, which is really the only stat a Scholar gives 2 shits about. Alright, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Recently started following you after seeing so many of your great videos. They've really helped me in my free company. The Riot Hounds make the best of the game. Keep up the good work. Thumbs up. Here's my question. I'm wondering what you think of the possibility of the Warrior Light traveling to Doma in order to liberate it. So I'm going to stop you right there. Doma was destroyed. I think that the region that Doma is in I think it's Authard, the continent of Authard. That eventually, yes, I have a feeling we will go to Authard, and that'll be a big point of trying to liberate it from the Empire. I see us going there before we actually go to Garlemald, despite the fact that Garlemald is significantly closer. But Alamigo will probably be our next step. As for the Samurai, a Samurai was initially supposed to be in Heavensward, and they decided to go with Dark Knight instead. Samurai was going to be the tank of the expansion. So Yoshi P himself says he wants it to be a DPS. I personally could see it be either or. Now that we have Dark Knight as a tank, I do want to see Samurai as a DPS. Initially, I wanted to see Samurai come in as the tank and Dark Knight as the DPS. I'm really curious how they're going to do jobs in the future overall, or how many more they're going to add, how they're going to look at ability bloat and solve that issue, because they can't just keep giving us abilities. It's going to be interesting. But Doma itself, unless the Empire rebuilt it and they now have everyone who actually survived working as slaves, I wouldn't expect us to go to Doma anytime soon. We still have like half of our continent to explore, and that's going to remain a priority first and foremost. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, I've only played about a week in the expansion because of holidays and stuff. I was wondering, is it worth it to level multiple jobs at once? If not, which class do you think is the fastest and most challenging for DPS, given the new abilities? That's completely subjective. Some people find Monk to be hard. Some people find Dragoon to be hard. Some people find Ninja to be hard. I think Ninja's a joke, but that's besides the point. Some people find Black Mages like a need to not move at all to be hard. Some people look at Summoners, super crazy opener, and say that's probably pretty hard, but then they look at the rest of the job and say it's pretty easy. I don't think there is one go-to necessarily most challenging DPS. I think that a lot of your damage is locked behind personal skill on pretty much all of them. With maybe Black Mage not necessarily being behind what order you use your skills in, but more along the lines of knowing the fight and minimizing movement. Of course, knowing your spell order is also important. If you're looking for someone with a crazy opener, Summoner is probably going to be your best bet. Also, it's pretty good soloer on top of automatically giving you access to Scholar at 60. I wouldn't level everything to 60 all at once. I'd find something, make it your main, and then go back and level other things, just for the sake of exploring other options, seeing if maybe you like another job, or just making sure you have things at 60 so you can shake things up a little bit if you ever want to tank an expert roulette versus DPSing it all the time. Sorry, I know I said I just wanted to talk through straight and get through to the editing, but I got interrupted by something here on the side over on Twitter, so I just wanted to fix that up real quick before I continued on. So, on to the next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. How do you feel about the current status on Monk? As far as class goes, I feel Monk is doing pretty well, but when it comes to group synergy, I feel that if your group has 2 melee and 2 range, you will always want to take Dragoon and Ninja as they bring more to the group. You think Monk needs to bring one more raid utility instead of just Dragon Kick? They do, but they only bring Mantra. And Mantra is not all too fantastic. I guess one thing they bring the ability to sustain their TP slightly better if they don't end up using it for Tornado Kick, which most of them do. I mean, not Tornado Kick, the other one, the Forbidden Chakra, yeah, that attack. I don't even know what the name of the monk ability is. Sorry to be honest. The one that does damage for their 5 stacks, their 5 Mantra stacks, that one. They bring a little bit more sustained DPS with the extra TP that they get, but I don't know. They bring good DPS, and if you don't have a Dark Knight, Dragon Kick is super value. Like, the whole reason of bringing Dragoon and Ninja is because you have, supposedly, Dark Knight and Warrior for the synergy otherwise. Without that, Paladin, you usually want to try to bring a Monk if possible. It's just that becomes possible because you want to replace it with the super high DPS Dragoon, both burst and sustained, or do you want to replace, oh, and Battle Litany, which is godlike, or do you want to replace the Ninja with the Goad and Smokescreen and what's the other one, Shade Walker, which people laugh at. They actually have quite some use in Savage when you're looking at them, and on top of that, having Trick Attack, which is another great tool, and the ability to have a silence or a stun, and I know that Monk has a stun and has a silence, but come on, you don't want to use the silence. It's hard to decide. I think they could use maybe one more thing, something tied to their chakra usage. That would maybe push them over the edge to be a bit more competitive. But ultimately, what's going to happen is either you push them up a little higher and people go, okay, well, now we don't want to bring one of these other two. Now we only want to bring Monk and Ninja or Monk and Dragoon. So I feel like they're in a decent enough place. It's just that it's a compositional choice. Do you not have a Dark Knight? You probably want to bring a Monk for a Dragon Kick. It's just a matter of deciding which one you're probably going to give up. Most people will, believe it or not, probably pick the Dragoon just because they don't want to give up Goad and Trick Attack and Smokescreen and all that fun stuff. But who am I to say? Those are just all possibilities. It's just a theory. Okay, all right, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, hey, Mr. Happy, I want to say thank you for answering my question last week about Blood of the Dragon buffs for Dragoons. Happy 1 year to you on Mondays with Mr. Happy. Yeah. I've been thinking of a Red Mage type job would be awesome in 14. Could Red Mage job be somewhat similar to Enhancement Spec Shaman? That's how I've wanted Red Mage. Like, there's a lot of ways I could see Red Mage being done, and that's one of them because of the end spells. You think of it similar to sort of like Wind Fury as a such, and their elemental-based melee attacks. But there's just so many other things that Red Mages thematically are supposed to be capable of, and I don't know that people would want Red Mage relegated to that, whereas you could probably just do a spell sword type job. Like, obviously Red Mage has spell sword abilities, but you could just literally make like a mythic knight or a spell knight or something like that that does the same thing, and then do something else with Red Mage. I would like to see a melee magic damage dealer, and no, Dark Knight and Ninja do not count. Like a full-blown melee magic damage dealer, and the way you describe it here, like an enhancement shaman, could be a very high possibility. We just have to see what they end up deciding to want to do for the next however many jobs we're getting in the next expansion, if any at all. Alright, next question. Hey, happy first time poster, so esoterics bonus. Yay! My question is, I'm coming back to the game and I'm almost level 60 on my Dark Knight. Since I'm almost level 60, I've been watching endgame content and learning the fights so I can head into them as soon as I get to 60, but after watching all the mechanics in the game, seems like they get raised an extra level of difficulty. I mean, everybody goes up at level 60, everyone's difficulty goes up at 60. I was playing the game when T1 to Tier 5 was progressing, and was even in the race for World First Turn 5 when nobody could beat it. You think that if I was able to keep up with coil progression, will I be able to keep up with Savage content, or Savage really that much more difficult? Turn 1 through 5 doesn't hold a candle to Savage progression. Turn 5 itself was not a mechanically difficult fight. Some people will argue the dive bombs were a mechanically difficult mechanic. It was, but in all honesty, it was literally just do. That's all it was. And the twisters were just, game was designed with a built-in 300 ms lag. Twisters were also overtuned on top of that 300 ms lag. So the fight itself really wasn't all that hard. And the fact that only BG beat it before that world first shows that, I mean, as soon as twisters were nerfed, everyone beat it. Like, everyone who had been in there for the last month, the last 2 months, beat it the day twisters got nerfed, as long as they could actually go in and raid. That should speak to the fight itself. Savage is on a much different level. Savage is more along the lines of, if you did Savage second coil, you're pretty good for keeping up with Savage content. And also, you have to make sure you're surrounding yourself with 7 other people just as motivated to stay up to date with Savage content. It's not a one-person game. It's all about the other 7 people you surround yourself with. So if they're up to keeping up with the progression, then as long as you're up to keeping up with it, then you should be fine. I can't talk about skill-wise because the game was a completely different game back when turns 1 through 5 was out. And Dark Knight, all the jobs have an extra difficulty from 50 to 60. A new skill to master, a new type of mechanic that you'll want to maximize to some degree. So no matter what, you're going to have to deal with that difficulty spike of going from 50 to 60. It's just something that you have to get used to, and hopefully you can and move into Savage just like it sounds like you want to do. Next question. Happy birthday, good sir. I guess it's the show's birthday. It's not my birthday. My birthday is in December. So anyway, thank you. Context. I like dots. I like melee. I like Eastern jobs. Assassin? For real though, is there some reason we don't have some form of dot-based melee job other than the Assassin that just not yet in the game? Every job uses dots. Every job. I understand you mean we use our dots and we expend them, like, you know, if we have 3 dots up on the target, this attack does X more damage, kind of like a melee fester. But every job has dots, and every melee job has dots. I mean, some of the biggest part of Ninja's DPS is maintaining dots. Monk, great. Demolish, Touch of Death. Sometimes Fracture, but not so much anymore. Dragoon, Phlebotomize, and Chaos Thrust. They all have dots that they have to have maintained. They're very integral to their job, as well as Ninja having this more assassin-esque qualities, you know, the ability to jump to a predetermined location, the extra damage from either being behind or in front, the LOL stealth mechanic that we'll probably never see used efficiently in PvE, only in PvP. I'd say you're probably just best off going Ninja. Ninja's really the closest thing you're gonna get to this assassin gameplay with the dots, and yeah, we have dots. We have dots. That's all. That's all it really comes down to. Next question. Oh, dude, you answered all the week 51 questions on page 1 until you got to the bottom or mine and skipped to page 2. Anyway, hey, Happy. Yeah, I didn't have time because it was a long question, and these questions are taking a long time to answer. Repost, probably for the best. I can word it a bit better this time. My question is about Dark. Now, I know it is not getting as much disdain as Machinist or Astrologian, but it still seems like people are shunning it as a tank, even though some world-first Savage Clears were made with a Dark Knight in tow. I love the job and haven't touched either of the other tanks since the X-Pack dropped, and I haven't looked back. Everything about it feels intelligent and slickly designed, but people on the forums and Reddit think there's big problems. The entire thread's devoted to the ludicrous changes people want to see that would completely wreck the job and change how it plays. Are people really struggling that hard to play Dark right? How do you feel about it? Do you feel that they are succeeding in the anti-caster tank role? Do you feel like the group is gimped with a Dark Knight instead of a Paladin Warrior? Also, real quick, do you think Warriors are too OP? Seems like they have no weaknesses to work around. You're pretty right on that one. I rarely meet a decent, respectful Warrior main screen. It's just too much to inflate their egos, I feel. Okay, so Dark Knight I mentioned earlier, and I'll just reiterate those issues. Some of their abilities just don't synergize well. Living Dead is probably the worst of all of the mitigation tools. It has the biggest window of use, like you have 10 seconds to activate it and then 10 seconds to mitigate it, but the trade-off is that you'll usually use more MP than you would with a Paladin Hallowed Ground, even more MP than you would with a Warrior, because most of the time you have Warriors home gang, and you don't just leave them at 1 health for the 6 seconds, but at the same time, you don't usually pop a benediction on them just to keep them alive. There's usually some moderation in heals. You're either blowing a huge cooldown with Living Dead or healing them up slowly, just spamming high MP spells, or having both healers have to focus healing instead of one of them DPSing. It just ends up being this really weird play where some of their abilities don't make sense and some of them do. As an anti-mage tank, fantastic job. I feel that they could have used more than one anti-magic ability, and yes, I'm not including Delirium in that because Delirium is, you know, a raid-wide thing. But in terms of giving them a cooldown that makes them meaningfully different compared to the other two tanks, that one cooldown makes a world of difference, and it's a big reason why it is such a good job for a lot of magical-based tank busters, which there are actually a couple of when it comes to Savage thus far. I feel like it's not that the job is like completely broken and sucks and needs fixing. It's that it needs some tuning so that it makes a little bit more sense. The abilities have a bit more synergy together. I think that's the bigger thing than it is just giving them and buffing them outright. Living Dead sucks. I want to see it change, though. I think they could do something way more interesting with that ability than what it does currently. Because, to be honest, outside of the fact that a Dark Knight tanks fine, does really good damage, they have really weird cooldowns at times. They have really bad resource issues with TP, not even with MP, with TP. And then they just have the worst of the three Hollowed, Home Gang, whatever. And that's because Hollowed's ridiculously OP, but even Home Gang with its 6-second period has a lot of workarounds that don't involve you blowing a shit ton of MP or blowing a benediction most of the time. So, and as for Warriors being OP, yeah, they have almost no meaningful weakness outside of the fact that they have a slight barrier of entry to play. Like, you have to master a DPS rotation and a tank cooldown rotation combined into one. That's really the only thing, but Dark Knight has that issue too, plus the other issues. Warriors are just the best tank right now. Hands down, best tank. Every time I get a crit fell cleave, I'm like, oh! Okay, moving on to the next question. Branching off last week's question about a melee magic user, what would you think of a Rune Fencer? Say, we were just talking about that before. Rune Fencer could be another job that fits into that sort of archetype of being a melee caster or a melee magic dealer of some set. And of course, weapons based on what rune they're harboring, very similar to the end spells of Red Mage. Same thing. I just want a melee job that deals caster damage. Any idea is welcome, and I just want to see if they can make it look more unique. Rune Fencer, sure. I always think tank for Rune Fencer because of Final Fantasy XI, and they did a good job making it a magic-based tank there. But you can only do so much. All right, next question. Why are there fireworks outside right now? It's not July 4th. It's friggin' August 9th. Hi there. Hope you're feeling better physically. I have several questions for you since I'm going to borrow someone else's spoiler idea. That questions are actually short, so help yourself to more than one. First one is called Turned Up, Best in Slot Headpiece. I'm a lover, not a fighter. It's a bird, it's a plane, and I got this. Wow, you did not make this easy. I'm just going to go with the first one. Turned Up. What is your favorite in-game dance? Can we get a video of Mrhappy doing the Vanu? I mean, the Vanu dance, isn't that just this one? Like right here? We better get that in 3.1 with the Beast Tribe quests. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the dances all too much. The Manderville's, I mean, it's got to be the Manderville. Yo, try doing the Manderville for a minute straight. it's a workout, all right? That is why the Manderville family is in such good shape, is because of that dance. And I guess I'll pick I Gots this too. Do you think Square Enix will ever do something with achievement points? Nope, because no game ever does anything with achievement points. The individual achievements are what give you glamours, titles, minions, etc. Maybe if you get over 9,000 of them, you can get a title. But otherwise, no, they're never going to do shit with that. I've been wondering that since achievements came out on the Xbox. I was like, oh, you get achievement points whenever you do this thing? Oh, so you can spend them on stuff, right? And they go, no. I was like, what the fuck is the point of this then? And then I ended up getting addicted to achievement hunting, so good job me. Next question. Hey, happy birthday Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. Yeah, happy birthday to the show. Thank you. Hope you're feeling all right this week. No ESO bonus, but I stole some cake from my fat chocobo. Feel free to. That's not. Now it won't fly for you. You just fucked up, man. That's it. It's done. Anyway, on to my question, which may contain some slight spoilers. I'll try to remember, I promise. We finally got to see some primal versus primal fighting between Shiva and Ravana in Heavensward, and it was pretty cool. Ice puns. I wasn't even thinking about the ice puns for you saying cool there. I'm not familiar with the warring triad lore, but it sounds like they won't be too friendly with each other. Nope, they are indeed warring. As much fun as fighting primals ourselves is, it's always neat to see two or more godlike beings clash. So which primals, potential or existing, would you like to see fight down the road? No matter how unlikely, there's no wrong. Yo, Omega and Bahamut. I don't care, bring Bahamut. Actually, they aren't primals, but Omega and Shinryu. Those are hands down the two ones I would like to see. Omega, technically, he's a summon in, like, Dissidia, so I guess that's cheating, and he's not. He's designed to combat primals. He isn't a primal. As for Shinryu, who knows? He could be one of the 7 children. He could be a god. Like, he could be so many things. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Omega versus Shinryu. Let's get that fight going after all these years of talking about how they're enemies and bestiaries and whatnot. Let's make that real. Alright, I had another distraction there. That's for the last question, even though it was barely a spoiler. Hey, Mr. Happy, second time asking, so philosophy bonus. Anyway, I got the idea for this question from a question last week on what your favorite cutscene is. It might take a bit to explain. You should get the basics of the question quickly. 2.0 cutscenes are very lighthearted, and although a lot was going on behind the scenes, the atmosphere is overall high-spirited, kind of like, oh no, Leviathan, but he's no match for the power of friendship. Cue pink rabbits jumping around. I don't think it was quite that way, considering they were like, well, Leviathan, he's gonna temper us all. Yeah, and he's gonna drown us and temper us all. It's gonna be bad. However, the last 2 patches started a trend that flowed into Heavensward. And the cutscene you described last week. What do you think of this darker storytelling? I want to feel threatened. Like, the problem with 14's story is, yes, it's told well. Yes, it has important characters coming to, you know, clashing within these cutscenes. And then, of course, we have these mini one-off fights on top of dungeons and primals and all that. But even the story itself at this point has sort of leaned towards, wow, the main character is too strong right now. We need something that actually can stand up to them, because it so far seems nothing can. And that's like a major plot point at this point, that the main character, our character, is too strong. So I'm hoping that this darker storytelling leads to more twists, more permanent deaths, because I'm not a fan of these scions being brought back. I want some serious repercussions, like the loss of, you know who. I don't want to say his name. Anyway, I miss him. Anyway, like, I want more permanent repercussions, new characters being brought in, old characters being killed off, suspense of you don't know if this character is going to live or die, not, oh, you know, everything's fine and dandy, and oh my god, did everyone just die kind of deal. Just flowing into it, noble sacrifices, and we've started getting that, and I'm enjoying the storytelling quite a bit more. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happenin', what's happy? That's backwards. So, long time watcher, but first time asker. I've got 2 questions for you. The first one is short and easy, but if you're limited by time, can only get to 1, go for the second. I'll go for the second then. Secondly, is there, leave quests. Is there some point as to why large-scale leave quests exist? From what I understand, they were implemented into the game to help the leveling process by giving more rewards and EXP in exchange for more allowances. However, one large-scale leave quest only gives double of what a single leave quest gives you for 10 times the cost. Is there some point to these that I'm not seeing, or are they completely useless and not thought out quite as well as devs may believe? I think they could be balanced a little more. It's more than double the EXP, but at times it barely feels like more than double. What they're meant to do is they're meant to be like more EXP in roughly the same amount of time. So instead of doing 10 leave quests with those allowances, you'll just do one of these and be done. That's how it is in theory. Unfortunately, it takes so many allowances that it's hard to convince yourself to do them. However, if you're doing them in a group, like if you've got 8 people and everyone's got 2 leave quests, from what people have been telling me, it usually goes okay. But most people are just fading now anyway, so who cares about leave quests, right? Just everyone's saving those for gatherers, and I almost said crafterers and crafters at this point. So I'm gonna say they're pretty useless at this point. I had fun doing them before, but not so much anymore. Next question. Hello, Happy. It's your anniversary. Happy anniversary, Mr. Happy. Please tell me you get that reference or else I'm just creepy. I feel like I do, but I can't think of the reference right now. Anyway, have a happy anniversary. Thanks always for everything you do. Awesomeness bonus as if you could get more awesome. Flattery. Anyway, here's the personal question you wanted to answer last week. I used to play with a player who thought I was a good friend. I helped them with stuff and they helped me. They even added me to Facebook, their real self. Well, recently they started to give me the cold shoulder, and a mutual friend in the free company has said they are bad-mouthing me. This started because other players I knew that joined the free company started saying bad stuff about me because I was friends with someone these other players didn't like, and my friend believed them despite knowing me longer. Has anything like this happened to you, and if so, how did you deal with it? Though you are Mr. Happy, I bet everyone loves you. No, there's quite a lot of people that hate me because I'm from Jersey. I can be a royal dick at times. Trust me. That's tough. I mean, that's not even something that is an in-game problem. That can be a problem in real life, like transitioning between schools and whatnot. Like when I was young, I had friends. I had this like this triangle of friends. It was me, my friend Corey, my friend Alex. And as we got, like, every year that went by, Corey got more and more involved with other people. And thus, he started disliking, not necessarily us, but disliking the way that, you know, we hung out. You know, he wanted to do the things that they wanted to do when they hung out. So, you know, it was sort of implied that these other people, you know, they didn't exactly like us. So then he stopped hanging out with us, and it's very similar to that issue. And then another thing, like then me and Alex eventually, he was living in another town and I was living here, and I started hanging out with another group of people, and then I stopped hanging out with him, and then I started being like, yeah, it was always kind of weird hanging out with them, and then you start, it's weird. It's basically high school bullshit that shouldn't matter in this day and age, but it does because, you know, I'm 24. It's like, whatever, I'm done caring about that kind of shit. But for a lot of people, you know, it's not over. There's a lot of people in high school nowadays, you know, this is kind of another generation below me that's kind of going through the same thing. And it just sounds like he's trying to fit in wherever he can. And that's unfortunate because you can lose that's very quickly going to make you lose friends and gain friends and lose friends and gain friends. And sometimes it feels good to always have something new to look forward to, but then you got to think about the people you left behind. I don't know. It's just you don't even deal with it. You just, that person, all right, they're a piece of shit. That's it. You don't need to worry about them in your life. You don't need this drama. You just say fuck it. All right, they want to be a dick, they want to be like that. I don't need to talk to this person anymore. I can go talk to other people. It's like I don't need this negativity in my life. And that's all you need to do. Just let that negativity leave you aside and just be like, all right, man, whatever. Because it'll probably bother him more that you're not bothered by it. Eventually, if he's like, if like he ever confronts you and he's just talking shit, you just be like, all right, go on. And then they're just like, what, you don't hear me? I said this. It's like, okay, are you done? And then they're just like, you son of, and they just get so angry. I don't know why, but it's just like, you just gotta let that negativity out of your life. Don't harbor any negative feelings. Just negativity, push it out of your life. That's all you gotta do. Just feel like, was Bob Ross, just paint a little tree right there and everything will be okay. Anyway, next question. Hello. Hey, Haps. Missed me? First time ESO bonus, Mr. Lucky. It says post number 2. Where's the other post? So I was wondering about how Red Mage, Mystic Knight, Blue Mage can be implemented in the game. Watching your last Monday's reviewer asked you about the Mystic Knight. Your reply to be done with stance dancing. I was thinking more along the lines sort of a Mudra ninjutsu system for spells. You input a combination of incantations, use your spell to gain various effects, place debuffs to do more DPS. Ninja already does that. I don't want another Mudra system in the game. People already hate the Mudra system as is. And whenever it comes to incantations, the Japanese are damn well going to design it so you have to do those incantations uninterrupted in a row. Because otherwise, it's a really weird incantation, unless certain abilities charge up like a rune spell thing, and then, I don't know. But then that's more like, it's weird. There's a lot of different resource systems that can exist. I don't think we need another Mudra system necessarily in the game. Not that it couldn't work, just that I think we need a different system when looking at having a melee caster. And then The next one says, whoops, double post. So it's okay. I forgive you. Happy 52nd, Mr. Happy. Glad to see you've been here since the start. Well, I mean, I've been on YouTube since before then, but yeah, it's good to have this 1 year under our belt. Next question. Finally, have a question, a long one, that I want to ask who I made an account. So I've been playing since 2.0 and always been interested in raiding. I was a Dragoon in the start, but moved to Monk for second coil. When I've been playing Monk since then, I have been playing Monk since then, and a bit of Ninja until 3.0 came out and I switched back to Dragoon. Now that Savage and Esoterics gear is out, I have to make a decision. I have 3 weeks worth of Esoterics, and my raid group is starting Macho Mech Alex Savage. Thank you, Sly. Our group is as follows: Dark Knight Warrior, White Mage Scholar, Monk, Bard, Summoner. Now I see where the problem is. Do you play Dragoon or do you play Ninja? That's a tough decision, man. To be stuck between... It's easier to be stuck between any other job, between Bard and Machinist, between Summoner and Black Mage, than it is to be stuck between Ninja and Dragoon. Because Ninja is so fucking good at Savage, because of Goad, because of the enmity tools that can allow your healers to do more DPS or your tanks to tank without tank stance. It's so tough. At least you have a Summoner. For A2 Savage, that'll be a good decision. I don't know. It's so hard. You know what? Fuck it. Go Dragoon. Dragoon is so good in its own with Battle Litany. With Monks at least having some self-sustain when it comes to the Forbidden Mantra, your Bards are probably going to have to sing Paeon regardless for the Dark Knight. Just, you don't need that goat as much. The only issue is still just the Dark Knight's just going to have to spend an extra GCD in their tank stance at certain points. It's just going to be unavoidable. And something that your group will learn with time. Go with Dragoon. Dragoon is so good right now. You'll be set forever no matter where you go because people love Dragoons. I believe. Next question. This is my first time doing this, as I have just recently watched some of the Mondays videos. Glad you've been enjoying them. Do I ask questions here this week, or that just passed because the last video was yesterday? Yeah, just ask. It's for the next week. It doesn't matter when you're asking them from. Just this thread for the next video. I don't see a thread to start asking questions for next week. This is that question. This is that thread. If someone can correct me, just let me know. I'll go ahead and ask here. I just wondered about Dark Knights and Intelligence. Don't use any intelligence gear on Dark Knight. It has no effect on any of their damage. They only have a couple of magic spells at all scales with strength. There you go. Don't worry about intelligence at all. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You put the majority of your points into vitality and strength. Yeah, just do that. Mostly vitality until you're fully comfortable, then full strength. Full strength, I believe. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. First time SO bonus. Just one question. I'm really looking forward to the next relic. Has Square Enix announced when they will be releasing it? Patch 3.1 will be the next relic weapon quest line, the Zodiac equivalent. And no, you don't need the previous one done in order to do the next one. But if you have it done, you'll get a small advantage. Next question. Hey, Happy, I told you I didn't think I'd be able to have time to post, but at a few minutes before bed. Happy 1-year anniversary from Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. Yeah, okay. That being said, first time posting, so enjoy the SOs. Question. I'm on Gilgamesh and just got Weaver 260, all for the purposes of getting the Thavnarian gear. I had to farm the freaking Chimera mains, needed 5 times just for 1 Chimera felt and getting the scripts. Required a crap ton of felts. Leaving me and a zillion other people running around in circles trying to farm them only for hours to only make 10 felts. Plus the drop rate feels really low. I think this will ever be fixed. No, they want the drop rates to be low because they want people who don't have gatherers and crafters to have a meaningful source of income by killing enemies. Yes, it takes a while to get the drops, but it keeps them at least worth something most of the time because generally, unless you're seeking them out, you're not getting them by accident just from the design of the way that the game works and where you have to go to farm these Chimera felts. They take a really long time to farm, and that's on purpose. I don't see them changing that soon. 3.1 though, maybe like in the next few months, but I wouldn't expect it before then. So, thank you for your question. Yay. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, greetings from Leviathan. Congratulations on 1 year. Yeah. Not my first time asking, so no SO bonus, but I have some luck for Alex Savage. Thanks for the luck. And I lied about just one question. Oh, I have one question for you today, and that's the shared housing. With them implementing this, do you think they will also implement more housing areas? They will eventually, but their goal right now is to... They have other goals other than that. They want to get the shared housing coming out first. They want to get the European data centers up, and then I think they're working on more wards. Because they also want Ishgard housing eventually, but they need the Dragon Song War to end first. So, much. It's rough. I mean, you can still get a plot even on the full servers. Some people buy houses and then sell them in the party finder, but that's a pain in the ass, and I don't blame you for not wanting to be involved in that. And I lied about just one question. Do you think it will... Okay. Well, yeah. Well, not anytime soon. I don't expect more housing wards until 4.0. Oh, they also wanted to make it easier to travel between wards and sub-wards, or whatever it is, whatever those things are called. So hopefully that helps out. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the videos. No problem, man. Alright, so this video is actually really friggin' long, so I'm going to do 3 Mondays with Mrhappy videos this week. This will be part 1, then we'll have part 2, which will be the other half of the questions on the forum, and then I am going to do the part 3 video, which is more of a personal video. So thank you for watching part 1 of Mondays with Mrhappy. I'm going to include the link to next week's thread in the description of this video, but there is still 2 more Mondays with Mrhappy videos coming out for the 1-year anniversary. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions, and I will see you in... Well, I'm assuming you're going to click on the next video in like 5 minutes. So, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Bye!